Witam wszystkich bardzo serdecznie, jestem Kark i tu kontynuujemy sobie naszą fabułę w Starfieldzie. Gdzie my się tu musimy udać? Chyba na Alpha Centauri, zaraz sobie to zobaczymy. Co to teraz było do gry? No tak. I konkretnie do Jamison, gdzie? Normalnie do Nowej Atlantydy. No to lecimy.
Will we be stopping for food? I would not mind trying something, and there are plenty of options.
Ty mnie zapraszasz na kolację, czy ja ciebie? Jak to rozumieć? Przeciążony chyba nie jestem, nie? O nie. Chodź.
You'll be scanned as you enter the city.
Czekaj, ten bar był tu. Czy ta restauracja? Nie. Chodź. Proszę. Chodź.
What? Oh, sorry, just terramorph attack. I'm lucky to still be here.
Andrea, zamawiaj. Proszę.
Hope life is treating you well. Let me know if I can get you anything.
Chodź, zamawiaj.
Hope life is treating you well. Let me know if I can get you anything. Oh, is that a story? Remember when I said getting the ingredients was the difficult part? Yeah, about that. I may have gotten ahead of myself. I can mix a mean drink, I could run this bar, but this is something totally new. I want to do it right. But you know what that takes? Credits. Lots of them. More than I have. Oh, that's part of the plan for sure. It just can't be the whole plan. And you have now outed yourself as someone who has clearly never attempted to jumpstart an interplanetary business venture. I need more than just a great product, which clearly I have. But I want to go big. Large-scale production, marketing, distribution. Here's the situation. Opportunity is staring me in the face right now, and I don't want to blink. This can be huge, galaxy-wide. I know it. So, I am willing to concede that I need some external help here. Investors. Know anyone who's rich and likes taking chances?
The men and women I knew who most coveted credits were involved in highly illegal activities. Also, they are all dead.
Okay, well, that is... It's not going to provide any direct help going forward, but, well, thanks. I am once again leaning on you, my very, very good friend, and looking for some help. You can't possibly turn me down, right? Well, a person of your obvious charm and grace must have some connections to wealthy individuals in the settled systems. I'm hoping you can convince a few of them to invest in my little business venture here with the knowledge that they will definitely, absolutely get their credits back. And then some. That's the pitch anyway. You really are the best, you know that? So, you know Walter Stroud, yeah? You both are in that Constellation organization? I think you should chat him up, pitch him the idea, see if he'll bite. If he does, we are that much closer. And if he doesn't, then we figure out a plan B. Go team! You know, I had a guy in here last week ranting that General Shao ought to send the Marines down into the well. I'm usually all for letting folks speak their mind. Most times it can't be helped after a few drinks. But that was just too much. Anybody stuck living in the well, it almost certainly isn't by choice. And things down there aren't that bad. You know, I had a guy in here last week ranting that General Shao ought to send the Marines down into the well. I'm usually all for letting anybody stuck living in the well, it almost certain. Sure thing. What can I get you?
No i tak, Sara, żeby ci szło postawić, no to by było okej, no. Ale ty tu masz trunki. Dobra.
Catch you later.
Co, Sara, nie pijemy nic. No to chodź.
Howdy.
Ty nie jesteś Sara, przepraszam, Andrea. Chwilunia, ale gdzie to nas pcha? Aha, dobra. Nie mogliby od razu do wantu. Aha, Sara, chciałaś
What did you need?
skoczyć. Czego potrzebujesz? Niczego.
Did you need something? Very good.
Very good. Dobra, tam gdzieś na górze jest ten cały fun generał.
Something to report.
Podsekcja 7. Cie, panie.
Are we at all surprised that the UC has such a massive space dedicated to secrets?
Authorized personnel only. Your friend has to stay here.
Ugh. Fine. I will wait here. You go.
Dobra. Dobra, zaczekaj.
Well, what a pleasant surprise. When I heard you and Hadrian were headed for Londinian of all places, I presumed you must be onto something big. Did you
Nie
find what
kombinuj.
you were looking for? Good news, then. So, what exactly are you doing here? Plenty still to be done in defeating the Terramorphs, no? Did you? Well, I don't know what you think you heard on this recording, but I sincerely hope you didn't come to the wrong conclusions. After all, given the Cabinet's current state of anxiety, they might misinterpret such a discovery to mean I could have been involved with the attacks. Perhaps I can convince you to keep this among us. Of course. Do I look like I'm in any position to do what you're describing? So I'd very much appreciate your agreement to not share what you found. We wouldn't want anyone else jumping to conclusions now, would we? You know, you're far more clever than I expected. You want to hear the words, then? I did it. The Terramorph attacks on Tau Ceti, New Atlantis, my doing. Years of coordination between my associate and I, figuring out how to deploy the Lazarus plant's pollen outside of Londinian, learning to synthesize it, use it as a weapon. Now, being as clever as you are, I'm sure you have thoughts on why I might do such a thing. All in due time. First, I want to see if you're truly as astute as you appear. So why would someone like me go through all this trouble? Not a bad thought. But no. The attacks were a correction. When I discovered the plant, I did consider handing over what I'd found, but we were at war. And I couldn't risk information that dangerous falling into the wrong hands. So I ordered the bombing of the Londinian spaceport, fixing two problems at once. Halting the spread of the city's Terramorph outbreak, and sealing away knowledge of the plant's potential. It's easy to judge now, but the Freestar Collective had spies everywhere. In that moment, I wasn't about to add another dangerous variable to an already catastrophic war. But then, as the war ended, my trial, my execution, I made a decision. After all, I'd given everything for the colonies. My life as I knew it included. And what did I get in return? Was there any effort by the UC to protect my legacy? My daughter's legacy? No. We were sacrificed when all we did was serve. So I kept what I'd learned and arranged the attacks to set things right again. My daughter, she becomes a hero. I become a trusted advisor, having found Kaiser, the research team, and cement my new position of influence when I hand them the name of the person responsible for the attack on New Atlantis. The dear departed Dr. Reginald Orlays, the associate who aided me all these years, and whom I always slated to take the fall. What luck he was stopped dead before he could hurt anyone else. His decades on the run brought to an end by another unlikely hero. You. Why would I want to be in the good graces of the people who control my very life? I don't know, Captain. Maybe I still dream of a life outside these walls someday. A new face would be needed, of course, but it wasn't an impossibility. Though now, I'm not so sure. It wasn't easy. But the beauty of being loathed is that people will do whatever they can not to deal with you. They wanted to pretend I didn't exist. And so I used their blind eye to my advantage. Still, establishing a back channel to Orlays via the UC recovery teams was painstaking work. I've led campaigns less nerve-wracking. They believed they were luring in wanted criminals, but were in fact delivering precisely encoded slates, filled with instructions invisible to any but their recipient, dropped off at just the right moments to fall into the proper hands, all without the UC realizing whom they were actually dealing with. Slow work. But as you can see, ultimately effective. Can't remember the many lives you've taken. Orlays was the man whose death you brought about around the moon of Etheria, the pilot of the Warlock, the man I had to eliminate, to hide my secret. There are no heroes without a villain. I simply arranged the opportunity for us to overcome one and become the other. And we all benefited. It's why I had Orlays reprogram Kaiser. Had that old machine guide you to where I found the plant all those years ago. I went to great lengths to ensure your and Hadrian's success. And look at the results. I know for a fact the Cabinet's planning to honor both you and Hadrian once this is all done. Isn't that preferable to languishing away in obscurity? Running jobs on the tail end of nowhere for the Vanguard? With only the vague hopes of perhaps earning the right to buy a home in the well someday. something befitting the dedication to the colonies you two have shown. While, of course, they can't give you a command, responsibility like that has to be earned. The cabinet does have access to considerable resources. I expect you'll be quite pleased with the result, and none of it would have happened without my intervention. You're being honored only because I arranged the situations where it could happen. Be grateful. And let's not forget the importance of our actual endgame. Eliminating the terramorphs. Securing knowledge of the Lazarus plant. What we've set in motion is going to protect thousands, maybe millions of lives. I'm simply requesting one more life.
Co tu teraz mądrego zrobić?
Mine. I've already sent along the evidence of Orleza's role in the attacks to the cabinet, leaving out my own involvement. All I ask is that you confirm as much to the cabinet. Tell them that it was Orlez and Orlez alone. After all, I do still have a long list of threats to the UC. This needn't be the end of our good works together. Hunting down criminals and other threats to the United Colonies. I expect they'll give me a bit more free range once this is all over. You would help me, like you did with Orlez. Track them down and keep them from doing harm to the United Colonies. Impossible, though, if the cabinet learns I'm the one responsible for the attacks. And how many have you killed to get where you are now? There are no great works that don't cost lives, Captain. Whether it's winning a war or digging a tram tunnel. So we sacrificed a few dozen in the attacks to possibly protect millions. That seems like a fair exchange to me. I only hope you'll see the same and leave my name out of the discussions to come. Well, I do hope you'll keep the larger perspective in mind, Captain. We've done something great here. Let's not squander the opportunity to do more.
Authorized personnel only. Your friend has to stay here.
Chodź. Co to drobne było? To jest frakcyjną. Dobra, pokończmy to, bo inaczej będzie bieda. Ciśniemy, nie? Andrea, ty mój kwiatuszku, chodź. No nie, tu gdzie, czekaj. Idziemy to, idziemy. Tu? Nie. Się zgubiłem. Tu. Chodź, zasuwaj. Sprawy międzygwiezdne. Ta winda jest szybko, kurde. Gdzie oni są tu? Tam Andrea, nie możesz też włazić, kurwa. Autoryzowany personel. No tu.
Perfect timing. We just got in.
So on our end, good news. The microbe and the acyles are both as effective against heat leeches as they are against terramorphs.
Means either plan should work for clearing those critters off our worlds.
Considering what the Lazarus plant is capable of, I don't think we can deal with those things fast enough. I already sent along info to the cabinet to get them up to speed. So what about your end? Did you find anything? Any leads on who might have committed the attacks? Do what you have to. We'll be here.
Okej. Co teraz? Porozmawiałem, nie? Jeszcze
So,
coś.
did you turn up anything on the attacks? Any idea who might have been involved?
Orlays? Reginald Orlays? He did this? I didn't think he was still alive. You're sure it was him? Oh yeah. Both worked for UC Defense Research way back when. Different departments, but everyone knew Orlays. Had a mean eye for weapons tech. And a meaner temper. Wasn't exactly a surprise when he fled instead of standing trial after the colony war. But finding out he's taken up mass murder in the years since, that is a shock. You're sure about this?
If he is responsible, let us hope the cabinet deals with it swiftly and harshly.
That's some impressive work. So then give us the rundown. Where's Orlays now? Were you able to bring him in?
Nie wiem, co tu wybrać. Kurde, nie pamiętam tego spotkania.
Orlays. Oh, Captain, I'm sorry. I won't pry any further. Well, at least you won't be able to hurt anybody else now. Might be the best we could ask for, given the circumstances. So I guess there's nothing else to do but get this all in front of the cabinet. Unless there were other things we needed to discuss.
This might be our last opportunity to talk things through before the cabinet weighs in on a decision regarding the Terramorphs. Asylees aren't hostile to humans, but they are megafauna. If someone decides to pick a fight with one, it could get ugly. But they've already been spread far and wide once before when the UC was raising them as livestock, so the risk of introducing them to new worlds is minimal. Using them to clean up the Terramorphs and leeches, though, it's not going to be nearly as expedient as the microbe would be. Given what we know now about the Lazarus plant, the speed of the job does matter. But going with the Asylees, we're at least dealing with known risks.
They are.
Microbe needed minimal adjustment to account for heat leech anatomy.
And the Asylees seem like they're even better at tracking leeches than morphs.
Hell of a sight to watch, though, when they catch them. Like an open airlock guzzling angry spaghetti. Microbe is gonna make the cleanup a whole lot quicker. If we're concerned about this Lazarus plant getting deployed again, that's the way to go.
The cabinet can secure the Lazarus plant, and then we're not risking any surprises when it comes to dealing with a microbe.
You're being paranoid. You know the science. You know we can make this safe.
I do know the science. I also know math. And a 1 in a million chance of a mutation isn't 0. So I guess we're still in discussion. Probably best at this point to let the cabinet weigh in, see if they have a preference. And here we go.
To idziemy. Jest wszystko do ukradzenia.
Welcome back, all of you. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. But according to Hadrian's report, and the second one I just received, it seems the Terramorph attack on New Atlantis was no random occurrence, but a planned strike. Is what I'm reading here true? This report comes from a particularly confidential source both you and I are familiar with, yes. Among the reasons its findings are so alarming. Now, is it true? Was the attack on New Atlantis planned?
My God.
An attack? Using terramorphs? How is that possible?
You will all receive a full briefing once we're done here. So then, is what the second report claims correct? Did Reginald Orles commit these attacks, Captain?
Co ty teraz zrobić?
I do not appreciate information being withheld.
You want me to... Well, we believe that report to be correct, ma'am. Reginald Orlays appears to have committed the attacks.
Reginald Orlays? Wasn't there a report he'd been killed recently?
Body was found floating around Etheria. Report mentioned you were sent to try and bring him in, Captain. I guess that didn't go according to plan.
Ah, yes. I was told about your mission and who ordered it. Did you two suspect at the time Orlays might have been involved in the attacks? Only that it would have been preferable if you'd managed to find him before he murdered UC citizens. Now, are you going to answer the question for me or not? Did you already suspect Orlays? Well, it appears you are ahead of the curve. This report contains definitive evidence Orlays triggered the attacks via this Lazarus plant the Captain and Major Sanan uncovered.
Simply harrowing.
Indeed. Though it would have been preferable for him to have finally faced the UC's justice, it seems both of you are to be commended for ensuring he was dealt with before he could strike again. You have our thanks. Now, with our villain unmasked, we can attend to the other matters at hand. With the threads you've brought together here, the Lazarus plant, the attacks, the heat leeches, the three of you have likely spared thousands of lives. But it now falls to the cabinet to ensure this can never happen again. As such, the cabinet will be securing the Lazarus plant on Londinian. All materials related to the plant will be classified to ensure no one else learns its true nature.
A sound decision, Madam President.
Well, luckily the natural hostility of Londinian makes keeping out trespassers relatively easy. But we'll ensure its growth is contained, that access to the plant is only permitted via highly regulated clearances, and that our troop presence on Londinian is increased. We're already discussing the elimination of one species, Captain. Explain to me why you wish to eliminate another.
They are ultimately threatened as much as the United Colonies. To share what you know and what can be done to make us all safer can only foster good relations.
That is an idea with some merit to it. Decrease the likelihood of anything like this occurring again, and further relations between our two factions.
Two birds with a single stone. Very well. We'll include the collective in the removal process. Thank you for the suggestion, Captain. So then, to our final topic. The Cabinet has agreed to implement a plan that will deal with the Terramorph, and now also Heat Leech presence on human worlds. In fact, we've already begun enacting measures to check all UC ports and settlements for undiscovered nests. But we all understand this is only a partial solution. The project we're embarking on will be a long and difficult one. So our first step must be deciding how exactly this all will be handled.
Madam President, this microbe is clearly too much of a risk. The Aseles are the safer approach.
To someone with limited knowledge of biology, perhaps? The technology behind the microbe is solved science, Madam President. It isn't dangerous. Using it to wipe out the terramorphs would be the quickest path to protecting humanity.
And fast results always lead to the best outcomes, don't they?
As you can see, there remains debate among the cabinet. We were hoping your group might issue a recommendation. Major?
We've been having similar debates ourselves, but the captain has yet to weigh in.
I see. Captain, I know this may not be your area of expertise, but we'd like to know your take on the matter. Please, ask. The responsibilities will be spread across multiple branches of the UC. Research and day-to-day administration will be handled by a new group under the Science Division. All diplomatic concerns and coordination will fall to Chief Yassine and Interstellar Affairs. But most of the actual on-the-ground work, that'll be handled by the Vanguard.
Kurde, dzisiaj będzie odcinek jak w Sejmie, na rządowej sali.
This won't work without them.
Exactly right, ma'am. The Interstellar Affairs Office has already begun reaching out to worlds throughout the settled systems, informing them of the risks we're all facing, and that the UC has a plan to prevent what happened on New Atlantis from happening elsewhere. Thus far, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. The spirit of mutual cooperation displayed between the UC and the Freestar Collective in managing the Terramorph data set a good tone for the work we're doing, Captain. We expect we'll hit some resistance, but our office has plenty of carrots and sticks to ensure the program's widespread success.
Infinitesimally low.
But not zero.
The chance of a starship landing on you as you sit here isn't zero, yet you still attended. Personally, my fear isn't mutation, but terramorphs developing a resistance. But that's something our group can continue to address if we decide to take this approach, as I believe we should. I can feel this one. While intimidating creatures, certainly, Asylees are docile unless provoked. They're honestly closer to oversized mobile scanners than deadly predators. The concern is that, while all proposed methods will be long-term efforts, the Asylees are the slowest. Slow to breed, slow to deploy. We do everything we could to accelerate that process, including mustering some of our mothballed cloning technologies. But if we do elect to use this method, we'll be doing things at the pace of a megafauna, which is not an expedient one.
Very well. Then did you have a preference on the method we should deploy? I believe we have a responsibility to do something, yes. Heavens forbid, years from now, someone reopens the Pandora's box that Orlais discovered. It falls to us to enact every measure required to ensure that day never comes.
Glad to see someone's not afraid of a little applied genetics. The Science Division is in full agreement.
Let us hope this Science Division truly knows what they are doing.
Grand threats merit grand actions, and grand actions are precisely what our group does.
Order, please. And Major Sinan? Dr. Walker, you'd find this acceptable?
We trust the captain's judgment.
Then the matter is settled. We'll begin the process immediately. Today marks day one for the United Colonies Terramorph Management Division, making you three the founding members of the TMD. As befits such a group, the Cabinet wanted to display its gratitude. Today, we will be adding 3 new Class 1 citizens to our ranks.
Class 1? For the 3 of us? Are you joking?
What he means to say is, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
It's a status reserved only for those who've dedicated their lives to the United Colonies, or done great things for its cause. Class 1s enjoy an ample credit disbursement, an additional reduction on the cost of colonial goods. And I'm told the penthouse is rather impressive. You all have earned it. Now, there's much to be done. Major Sanan, Dr. Walker, I hope you two are willing to continue your efforts, spearheading the TMD's research on Mars.
We'd be honored, ma'am.
And as a member of both the Vanguard and the TMD, I believe you, Captain, will have your pick of duties. Speak to your commander, Tuala, if I recall correctly. He should be able to provide you with assignments going forward, plus help you collect the benefits that come with being named Class 1. On behalf of the whole of the United Colonies, you have our sincerest gratitude. This meeting is adjourned.
Andrea, co ty na to? Pierwsza klasa. A może zobaczymy ten penthouse, co? Gdzie idziesz? Będziesz przemawiać? Czy jak? Stoisz tyłem do wysokiego rządu, czy kogo to tam się mówi. Chodź, Andrea, chodź. Ale może przełączmy sobie z tego... No to pójdźmy jeszcze tam na dół, a potem podsekcja 7. Chodź, Andrea.
Yes? Of course, take your time.
Dobra.
Authorized personnel only. Stay here.
Okej.
Authorized personnel only. Your friend has to stay here.
Też nie mam osób towarzyszących.
What's this? Just you then? No UC executioner. So the cabinet knows the truth about Orlays. Splendid. That means you and I can get to work. I'll tell you why. Because the UC was, and is, full of people unwilling to pay the price required for victory. In the last days of the war, the UC was on the precipice of executing a final great assault on the Freestar Collective home system of Cheyenne. A massive strike, capable of obliterating Freestar Central Command and ending the conflict at long last. You'd be right. Everything was in place. But just before we could launch the strike, word came from Londinian. The Terramorph outbreak had begun. I went to the city to assess the state of things, and discovered the Lazarus plan. We couldn't spare ships for a proper quarantine, so it was my decision to destroy the spaceport and seal off the city. Deal with it quickly, so we could get back to winning the war. I had a single ship. What would you have had me do? Ask them and the Terramorphs to form a line? And the UC fleet was spread thin already. No. I touched down, assessed the situation, made a decision, and returned to the task at hand. Very well. So upon my return from Londinian, we proceeded with our killing blow. Initially, we had great success against the mess the Freestar Collective called a navy. But then the Freestar citizenry decided to get involved. Dozens of civilian ships jumping in to shield their military counterparts. I, of course, had no trouble firing on what should have been designated enemy vessels. But my peers had lost the stomach for it. So many lives lost already, they wailed. So the great UC Navy was routed by a mob. They picked our ships apart. The UC surrendered not long after. And thus rang the death knell for the great UC. It's human nature to see patterns, even when there are none. What ended the colony war was cowardice, nothing less. We were in the middle of an all-out war, Captain. Committing ships to save the city would have left another undefended. Which city would you prefer I'd sacrificed? Sidonia, Gagarin, New Atlantis, and if anyone else had learned about the Lazarus plant, well, the risk was too great. I weighed the options and made the call. Once we'd cracked synthesizing the Lazarus plant's pollen, research that took years in and of itself, the attacks were exceedingly simple. Orlaze's ship would land on our target, bearing a few heat leeches. Nothing that would raise suspicion. Then Lazarus pollen was pumped out of the ship during liftoff from the planet's surface. Shortly thereafter, an attack. A strike perpetrated in mere moments, with no one being the wiser. Well, thanks to our combined efforts, the Sanan name has more clout with the cabinet than it has in years. I hope to build on that. I have a long list of names civilized society would be better without. I just need someone to help me remove them from the picture. Should we begin the hunt? Or did you have questions? Just making the settled systems a little safer. Arms dealers, rogue scientists, UC turncoats, war criminals from the colony war. Each poses a threat if left unchecked. I'd be directing you to them, and you'd be making the galaxy better for us all. The UC doesn't consider these threats worthy of action just yet. But by the time they do, it may well be too late. Which is why we'll be dealing with them before they can cause greater harm. As far as possible legal repercussions, I'll only be sending you to targets once they're away from the general populace. You may have to deal with some mercenaries or other general banditry, but no one's gonna shed a tear if a merchant of death or a chem peddler and their henchmen meet an early end. You won't be going after anyone that you see might miss. So you needn't fear in that regard.
No i nie wiem, co wybrać.
Continue whenever you like. Just what I was hoping to hear. There's a slate waiting for you in the transfer system.
Gdzie to jest?
Those are the details for our first, person of interest. Find them, eliminate them, and make the galaxy a better place for it. Though I would expect some resistance when trying to approach the target. Deal with any you encounter as you see fit.
Okej.
Authorized personnel only. Your friend has to stay here.
Ah, hello. I will watch your back.
Dobra. Chodź. Chodź i mnie osłaniaj. Ale skoro my tu jesteśmy, a potrzebuję kilka tam zastrzeleń chyba, nie? Jak to wyglądało? Tu do czegoś było potrzeba, nie? Aha, tu mamy wieżyczkami automatycznymi. Tu nie mamy. Tu są skoki. Tu instalacja różnych modułów, ale gdzieś tu coś było o strzelaniu jeszcze. Czy tylko to? Czemu nie strzelą automatycznymi? A, tu, systemy celownicze. Zniszcz wrogie statki w trybie celowania. No, czyli jeszcze 15 statków w trybie celowania. Skoro my tu jesteśmy na tych symulatorach, nie? To może... Kurde, nie to... Może by to skorzystać, tylko gdzie to tu było? Symulator gwardii. Czyli tu, do jedyneczki. Lecisz ze mną?
Yes?
Egzamin na pilota gwardii. Narzędzia debugowe. Dopiero gdy cel jest aktywny. Są tu... Aha, tu po prostu niszczyć statki w trybie celowania.
Looking to polish those flying skills? Well, the goal remains the same. Defeat as many opponents as you can before your ship is disabled. Defeat 3 tiers of opponents to complete the exam. Good hunting.
New targets active.
A te narzędzia debugowania to teraz? Kurde, ale to może ruchy. Ulepszenie osłon.
Active.
Target defeated. All targets eliminated. Progress recorded. Tier 1 reached. Initiating Tier 2. New targets active. This is futile. Target defeated. All targets eliminated. Progress recorded. Tier 2 reached. Initiating Tier 3. New targets active. Progress recorded. Tier 3 reached.
Well done. You've cleared a sufficient number of tiers to complete the exam. You may now exit the simulator, or stay and try your hand at the remaining enemy groups.
New targets active. All targets eliminated. Progress recorded. Tier 4 reached. Initiating Tier 5. New targets active.
Halting simulation. Well done. You can now either exit through the simulator hatch to log your results, or restart the exam from the cockpit's system terminal. Simulation reset. Prepare for your first opponent.
New targets active.
exam from the cockpit's system terminal.
Dobra. Co, jeszcze jedna próba?
Simulation reset. Prepare for your first opponent.
Czyli tu nie ma automatów.
New targets active.
Wbija choćby jednego.
Halting simulation. Well done. You can now either exit through the simulator hatch to log your results, or restart the exam from the cockpit's system terminal.
Dobra, co chyba się rzekło. Wyłazimy. Ostatnia fala. Za dużo ich.
Shutting down.
Jak stoimy teraz z tym? Jeszcze jeden brakowało do szczęścia. Ale dobra. To może naturalnie wykończymy. Dobra, a tymczasem dzięki za oglądanie, dzięki, że jesteście. Na tym skończymy ten odcinek. Trzymajcie się i cześć i do kolejnego odcinka. Co ty tam szukasz? Hejka.